So I've been a full-time creative for 4 years now. And in this video, I just want to go through and talk about my journey of what it's been like being a full-time creative. I've been creating for over 12 years. And within the last 4 years, I figured out how to go full-time, make over 7 figures. And I just want to share the good, the bad, the things you might not even think about. And if you're looking to go full-time in creating in 2025, this video is absolutely something that you should dedicate a few minutes to and just take it serious, because it's raw, unfiltered advice for free from someone that's been doing it. So there's definitely some nuggets in here. I'm sure there's some things you've heard before. Guarantee there's some things you haven't. This isn't going to be any fancy edits. It's not going to be cool sound effects. Just a chill video of me sitting down talking to you like this. So first and foremost, when I went full-time, it was actually a really interesting period of my life because I dropped out of college. I was doing client work. I kind of had like this social media management job for a beauty care company. And I was kind of juggling all of those things. And when I thought full-time, I thought I was going to be working an insane amount and really like just pushing myself every day. But the way I was actually able to go full-time was really unique. And I think I have a cool perspective on what it means to be a full-time creator that a lot of people can't kind of express. So I'd love to share that with you here. I initially thought I'd be working consistently, but the way I went about actually going full-time was creating videos on YouTube and posting what I was enjoying and then selling a digital product on that. So quickly, once I kind of figured this out, I'd been, creating for, I say quickly, I've been creating for 8 years at that point. I've been posting YouTube videos since like 2012, 2013 time. So nothing super serious, but I'd always been trying to figure out a way to monetize my creations and never taking it as serious as I did, 4 years ago. But I had been trying. So I quickly figured it out and went from, making a few $100 a month to having my first $10,000 a month, like 3 or 4 months after I really dialed in and was like, I need to do this full time. I dropped out of college. I lost my job and I basically needed to make something work. So from the time where I was like, okay, this is like balls to the wall kind of time to being able to go full time was this really short period. Like I remember I launched my Shopify store in December 16th of 2020. In the first 15 days, so the rest of 2020, those remaining 15 days, I did like $1,500 in sales. And then in January, I did right around 9, I believe. And then by March, I had crossed my $10,000 a month. So basically, I went full, like I had the ability, especially because I was living at my parents' house at the time, I had the ability to go full time basically in January. So like 15 days-ish after I started, which is really, really amazing. But I think one thing a lot of people don't share is like when you get that much freedom, right? Like now I'm like, okay, I don't have clients. I can just upload videos to YouTube. I don't really have any bills or responsibilities because I was still living at my parents' house at the time. And I'm super fortunate that my mom would, take care of me and, buy food and do all of the things that a lot of really great mothers do. I know everyone doesn't have that, but I'm super, super fortunate to have a mother that was just so amazing and took care of me and provided for me and was able to, just allow me to pursue my dreams and stuff. So at that point, when I started making a bunch of money, I didn't really have many responsibilities. And with that was like this huge sense of freedom that I had never really had before. But there's some things that like with that freedom, it kind of introduces almost obstacles in your life. Like you don't have a boss, you don't have like a schedule, or you don't have to be somewhere at some time. So it's like, those first few months, like, I think I was riding off the adrenaline of like, kind of like getting everything finally working after 12 years. It felt really cool. So it was really effortless to create content and go. But then after a little bit, it actually was like a little harder because there was no one actually pushing me to do anything. There was no like, hey, wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then you got to get to work by 9, and then you got to work from 9 to 5. And then after that, you're allowed to do the stuff you want. It was like, I could wake up and play video games, or I could wake up and not work for a whole day. And, that's the amazing freedom of it. But also, if you don't hold yourself accountable, it can actually be a negative. So I would say to get started, you have to treat it like a job, and then you kind of have to continue to treat it like a job. Sure, there's so many freedoms that it allows, like there's plenty of days where I'll work for an hour, but it's also really important to hold yourself accountable and have the self-awareness of like, okay, I haven't actually got anything done meaningful this week. Like, let's lock in. So there is that level of self-accountability that you will have to have that just isn't required in any other job, because there's just rules and timelines and deadlines that you have to follow. Otherwise, you're fired. It's a little different because you don't necessarily get fired, But in a creation job like this, it's very performative based. So if you perform well, you're compensated well. If you don't perform well, you're not compensated well. And because of the power of the internet and leverage, like you can perform well for a few months and then that can travel on for a few months. And then you're like still riding off that content that you made, 2, 3, 4 months ago. And you're not doing much and you're getting the reward of the content you made in the past, but you're not doing much in the moment. And then it kind of reinforces not doing much. It's definitely a wake-up call that I've had to have. And I know a lot of my other creator friends have gone through something similar. So I felt like that was like one of the ones that I not many people actually speak about. So just keep that in mind. Self-accountability in this job line is huge. And with that, sometimes this feels like the best job in the whole entire world because I genuinely think it is. And then some days it doesn't. I think it's just like any other job. Like your life doesn't get exponentially better once you get somewhere. Not when you hit the 10K a month, when you get the new camera, when you buy the new car or hit a milestone. Your life doesn't get significantly better. And it's important to realize that. Like if you're looking for all the answers in every element of your life of being a full-time creator, I can just guarantee you it's not the answer. It might be one of the answers, but it's not the answer that's going to fix every problem in your life. And if I could go back and do everything that I did again, I would 1000% do it. Just with the hindsight of like, I wish I documented more. Anytime I look back at my content, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I did that. I'm so glad I took these first steps and started posting. The only thing that I really wish I did was just document my life more so I could see what I was like in different periods of my life. But then also just be more consistent. Those are like the two things that like at any period in my career I look back on, I'm like, if I was just more consistent and documented my life more, I would have made more progress in the quality of my content, the business side, everything. It really does come down to, I know you've probably heard it on the internet a million times before, but consistency is the most important thing. And then I think for yourself, documentation is amazing because then you can go back and look like, oh, wow, that's what I was thinking around the time where I'd start my business. Like I have notebooks. Like I have this notebook here. The first date in here is my 2018 goal lists. And it says, start YouTube tutorials again. Like this was like before I'd even started my career. Like I was like, okay, I want to start making tutorials again. And that was in 2018. And remember, I didn't really have much success until basically 2021. So there was a 2-year period where I was like, I need to start making, I already knew the actions I had to do. I just wasn't doing it consistent enough. And it took me 2 years to even realize, okay, I actually have to go hard on this if I want it to work. It's really cool to be able to document and see what I was doing on a day-to-day basis. And I wish I did that through video more. And I wish I did it through my notes more because there's gaps in here where I went from 2018 and I didn't document much for 2019. And there's even been more recent gaps too. Looking back, it's a really great way to see where you were in life, but also be able to see if the things you were doing, like, were they working? Because like, obviously I knew the answer here. I was like, okay, I need to make YouTube tutorials. Like that's what I want to do in 2018, but I didn't really do it almost all the way until 2021. And just looking at my to-do list over those few years was like, oh, I was doing a lot of things great, but I was also just missing the ball on a lot of things. And it's really good to be able to reaffirm the things you're doing well, and then also be able to audit and look back on the things that you haven't done well and adjust for that. So if you're starting out or want to start taking it serious, start documenting more and just be more consistent with your content. And one of the biggest mistakes I made, and I think it led to me being inconsistent, was I cared about the views too much. I cared about the subs too much. I cared about the sales too much. I remember there was a phase in my life where I'd wake up and I'd check my YouTube subs and views and Shopify sales. And if it was a good day in subs and sales and views, I would have a good day. And if it wasn't, I wouldn't have a good day. And that's no way to start the beginning of your day, is by laying in bed, opening your phone or opening your laptop and checking your metrics initially. I was obsessive, and it did allow me to realize that I wanted to make progress, but there's also a fine line of being, tracking metrics, but also being obsessive over the number and not just making the content that leads to the numbers going up. And it's funny enough, the times that I made the most progress and saw the most views and most subs and most sales were the times where I wasn't tracking those numbers so hard, and I was just creating the content and having fun and speaking to the camera more authentically, because it's just what people want. People don't want you to optimize your video for the most views and extracting the most sales and getting the most subs. It's like, you get those things when you're just authentic and you're providing value and you're just being you and you're sharing your life in a way that people can resonate with. It's so funny. I see so many people hyper analyze social media, and it's like, it's social media. The whole point of social media is to be able to connect with one another. And the way you do that well is by just being yourself and being authentic and not trying to optimize for views, because what are views? They're just people watching your videos. So if you can make it enjoyable to watch a video, it's funny concept. If you make your videos enjoyable to watch, people will watch them. And if you help people, they will continue to watch them. So sure, there are things like making a good thumbnail, making a good title, all these things. But I think there's also something, especially in 2025, people are looking for that raw kind of talk, almost like what we're doing here, where it's just sharing your insights on life, talking about what you enjoy, and not stressing too much about all of these like, oh, we need a cut every 3 seconds and a sound effect and then a pop-up, because it's how we get people to watch longer. And when people watch longer, we're able to get a higher CPM on our video, and this higher CPM makes us more money. There's for sure people doing that. And don't get me wrong, it works. But like, I know here, like as a creative, you just want to be able to make what you want and be proud of it. And I can almost guarantee being proud of it doesn't entail making it hyper cut with the sound effects and all the little retention tricks that people are doing. It's probably just creating the content that you want to create. And if you do that for long enough, the right people will come. And that's so important. The right people is way different than just people. I'd much rather have 1,000 people watch this video that really resonate and it really helps them than 100,000 people that are like, I guess it was an all right video. And also, people on social media are smart now. If you're out to just make money, people are going to be able to sniff that up. Like, we've gone through an era of content so long that like maybe back in the day, if you were like, I'm going to run this just like a business, just to make money, like it would probably go over people's radar because like they're just not familiar with it. But people know what content looks like now. Like, people know that people are selling things. People know that people make money off social media before. It's crazy. But like, people back in the day, even when I started 4 years ago, people are like, oh, like you do YouTube. That's cool. Like you've, 50,000 subscribers at the time or whatever. It's like, how do you make money? And I'm like, oh, like you don't understand how social media works, and you don't understand how, monetizing your creations work. But it's funny because like now a lot more people are hip to that idea, that almost everyone knows that. Like even our parents and our grandparents probably know that now, that like they're not just posting videos online just to be, just to post. But I think that's where you have the advantage. Like I was posting on social media way, 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 way before it was very common knowledge that you can make money. Like I was doing it in 2013 just for fun because I loved it. And if that's you, you have an unfair advantage. You're going to create content regardless if you make money or not. And I know as a creative deep down, like if you've been doing this for a while and you genuinely like creating, like you're not going to stop and you're just going to keep getting better. So it's important to do that and realize that you have this unfair advantage of all these people that are just coming on social media just to make money nowadays, because you're not going to give up when it gets hard. My only advice to you is be more consistent, because there are people that are coming on here just to make money, and they're going to be really consistent for a short period of time. And if they don't see results, then they're going to give up. But you're going to be consistent over a long time horizon. Like for example, I was posting content for like 8 years before I even found success. And then what really switched is I was like, oh, like I just need to be more consistent and actually dial in. And once I did that, it was pretty easy. Also, side note, if there was a weird cut there, it's because I ran out of space on my SD card. You would think after creating videos for 12 years now, I would think to check my SD card before recording, but I didn't. So it's that's another raw reality of just creating, is there's going to be times where you're talking to the camera and you're really in the flow state, and then your camera just says out of space. So it's something that still happens to me to this day. I just looked over at my mic just to make sure I was recording as well, because I've done that plenty of times as well. And while we're on relatable subjects, I know this one's going to hit hard, is you're going to have doubt. Even if you start to figure it out and you start to make progress, you're going to have doubt. I still have doubt every single time I go about creating, every single time I go about posting, even if it's just very little in the back, it's still there. It's one of those things that I think, you kind of judge yourself and you're your harshest critic. And a lot of times it can be good. Like you can make a lot of progress and re-record something and be like, wow, that was better. I actually, could have done better that time. But then there's also something to like not making sure everything's perfect and just posting and just getting over that doubt and being like, look, I posted, everything's okay. My life's not over. No one hates me. It maybe wasn't the best piece of content I'll ever make, but it was, something I'm proud of, and I'm glad I posted it because it reached people and it resonated with them and hopefully had an impact in a positive way. And alongside that note, like with this job, you have to be comfortable taking risks and being in that uncertain phase, because with this job, there is no paycheck. Like there is no guaranteed dollar amount that's going to come into your bank account every single month. And, for a lot of people, that's maybe too stressful and they're not even willing to deal with that. But if it's something you want, like it's not going to be, you're guaranteed. If you just upload 3 videos this month, you're going to get paid this month. It's not how it works. There's a little uncertainty. I think once you start to figure it out, it's way, the upside outweighs the risk of, you underperforming for a month or whatever. Like there's been plenty of months where I'm like, wow, this was literally not possible in any other job that I've ever had or would ever have had. And I'm so grateful for that. But then there's also months where, when you're getting started and stuff, you're like I put in so much work. I've uploaded every single day for this month and I've made nothing. I've made a few $100. Like if I just went and worked a job 40 hours, I would have made $4,000 and I would have been fine. Like there is that, like you're going to think that, but it's the game of content, the game of creating and posting online and, social media nowadays it's exponential. It's like this for as long as you can think, and then it finally starts to go like this, and then it takes off. So it's one of those things you have to be willing to go over that period of doubt. You have to be able to live in a little uncertainty. Even to this day, I'm like, okay, well, I don't know how this video is going to perform. Like, how are people going to react to it? It's like, it's just one of those things. Like every single time you go to post something, it's going to be like that. So you have to learn to be comfortable with that, or at least get over that fear. And with that being said, like these last 4 years of my life have been the best 4 years of my whole entire life. I'm so grateful for every opportunity I've had. I've made the most money I've ever had. I've had the most fun. It's been the most fulfilling. Like there are negatives to this job, right? Like there are cons, but in my experience, at least, they're so heavily outweighed by all the pros that I would go and do this a million times over, and I would not take any other path. So if being a full-time creator, is something you're interested in doing moving forward, or if you're already on the path and you're trying, it's like, just go harder, because the only thing I regret is just not doing it sooner, not documenting enough, and just not being as consistent as I could have been. Other than that, I've loved every single moment of the journey. And the thing that I've found the most true is the only difference between the people that make it and the people that don't make it is the people that don't make it stop. And the people that make it just keep going. They just keep uploading and they keep trying and taking different angles and exploring what they like and exploring different content styles. And like they just keep going until eventually something works. The only way you can truly fail in this job is just giving up, because otherwise you're just on the journey to figure it out. So with all that being said, if you're someone that hasn't picked up the camera and hasn't started creating, go ahead and just make your first piece. If you're someone that's been doing it for a while, but you just haven't really committed to yourself, like make that commitment to yourself. Go and be like, I'm going to make this work this year. Like I'm going to figure out the things that have been working in the past and the things that haven't. And I'm going to commit to being more consistent, because I'll tell you, once you bridge that gap of like not having to work a job anymore, not have to be relying on clients anymore, not having to report to anyone, it's like this insane freedom that I don't know if you can have literally in any other job or any other place. It's insanely worth it. And I hope you get to experience it as well, because it's been life-changing for me. That's all I got for you guys in this one. Peace.